Electricity Minister Ramokgopa has congratulated Eskom for successfully bringing Unit 2 of the Koeberg nuclear power plant online. The utility announced earlier today that it had synchronized Unit 2 of the national grid following major upgrades. These included the replacements of steam generators to extend Unit 2's operational lifespan by additional 20 years. It'll contribute about 930 megawatts to the grid and help Eskom's goal of increasing its capacity by 2,500 megawatts by March next year. To tell us more about what all of this means, we're now joined by Velaphi Ntuli, General Manager of Koeberg Nuclear Power Station. Velaphi, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Now, let's start off with the major upgrades performed on Koeberg Unit 2 during its maintenance. Just walk us through these.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Hugo, to you and your viewers, and thanks for having us. So yes, yesterday we synchronized Unit 2, Koeberg Unit 2, onto the national grid. That had been a long journey where we replaced the 3 steam generators on Unit 2, and we did also some other maintenance that is related to our journey in extending Koeberg Unit 2's life. As you know, back in July this year, we got an extension for 20 years from the National Nuclear Regulator. So there was still work that we needed to do on Unit 2, which was to replace the steam generators and other work on the secondary side of the plant. So we concluded that work successfully yesterday, and the unit is now back on synchronized to the national grid. We are still doing some commissioning. We are not yet at 100% power. So we are still doing some commissioning as we ramp up to 100% power. So this is a significant achievement from what we set out to do and the scope of the work that we needed to do.
So it's obviously been big news across the country. Now, how does the synchronization of Unit 2 impact South Africa's electricity supply? Because that's a question on everyone's mind.
Yes, so as South Africans, we have been recently enjoying a lot of days without load shedding. And the 920 plus megawatts that Koeberg Unit 2 generates, it also contributes significantly to the national grid. So having that, once we are done with all the commissioning tests that we will be doing, that unit would be producing 920 megawatts onto the national grid. And that would be for the next, 11 months, because the next outage on this unit is on it's on December 2025. So that is constant 920 megawatts that will be produced to the national grid, which is really significant in, ensuring that we as Eskom, we can completely keep load shedding at bay.
Okay, now you talk about it being significant, but for the average person, define that significance. I mean, when we talk about 930 or 920 odd megawatts, what is the significance of it on South Africa? I mean, how much power differentiation does it create from what we currently have?
Yes, so both of Koeberg units combined, they produce roughly about 4 to 5% of the total energy that is consumed by the grid. So that means that the significant portion, especially where we are in Cape Town, then that would mean that a significant portion of that megawatts are coming from Koeberg. So we possibly powering close to half of Cape Town with what we produce at Koeberg.
Okay, so that's obviously a fantastic development. But there are other issues around nuclear, right? And now how does nuclear energy support South Africa's climate goals and emissions targets? Because that's also a big conversation.
That is correct. Maybe even to start there is with the world looking at reducing emissions, nuclear has become one of the most attractive options that that the world can look at. As we speak, there is over 60 nuclear power plants or units that are being built across the world, and that is being used, as a transition plan from, to low carbon energy supply. And therefore, as Koeberg with the 1,800 megawatts, that is a key contribution from a low emission or zero carbon energy that we are providing. So going forward also at Koeberg, that sets up for us as South Africans that we are able to run nuclear power plants, and we are able, to successfully and safely run them for a long period of time. So this should be a stepping stone for us as Eskom and as South Africa as a country to really look at other nuclear technologies that are out there. There is now the development of small modular reactors that are coming up. And we can also look at conventional plants like Koeberg nuclear power station going forward. I think those will help in us South Africans, sustaining and ensuring that we secure our energy future going forward.
Velaphi, I'm happy to say that this entire conversation you've been smiling, and I suppose it's a good place to be, where Koeberg and those of you that are providing energy to South Africa are able to do so, because many of the conversations, particularly start of the year and the back end of last year, were always antagonistic. Somebody always pointing at finger at those that were supplying energy. So let's talk about the morale and the mood at Koeberg. I mean, your team of operatives, when something like this comes online, obviously many months of hard work that have gone into it. What is that mood at the moment?
It have been a very, very joyous mood once we got the units back up. As we started this outage last year, December, and we had actually planned to finish it just around September. But because of the challenges that we had, it took a lot from us. But what I was proud of more is the deliberateness that the staff at Koeberg went through each and every challenge, making sure that when we return the unit, we return a very safe and a reliable unit onto the national grid. So we took the time that we needed, we fixed all the issues that we were experiencing and that we dealt with, and we returned this. So rightly so, you will understand yesterday when we finally synchronized this unit, the magnitude of what we've achieved, predominantly South African workforce, supported, yes, by our international partners. It was really a proud moment for all of us. And this really shows and firmly puts us on the map that we as South Africans, we are able to, to do such major projects successfully.
Well, I think everybody lauds the success and commitment that you put into it. But let's also talk about the economic advantages that are extended by the operation of Koeberg. What sort of advantages does it bring?
So if you look at the nuclear value chain, it's one of a very, economic, impactful value chains. You look at the type of caliber of people that we have in Koeberg nuclear power stations, high professionals that we have, and you look at all the suppliers that we have, both locally and internationally. We have a number of suppliers that, we have the value chains with that. And at the heart of this project, we had over 3,000 people, same time on site that would be working on this project. So if you look at that, it's significant. We did a study not so long ago with KPMG that showed the economic impact of Koeberg into the Western Cape economy. And that was a significant amount that we had. We actually shared the study at one of our engagement in the Eastern Cape recently. We showed that we are contributing over 10 billion rand into the local GDP. So the value chain of a nuclear power plant, really, more especially for a country like ours, where there is a lot of struggles from an economic point of view, it's a good option when we come from investment and a power plant that we could run.
Now, from your understanding, are there any plans to expand nuclear energy capacity beyond Koeberg?
We know that the government has been looking at that. As you know, in the public, there had been the 2,500 megawatts that was pronounced for nuclear, although there's been a bit of challenge. So we really hope that that comes through. We are more than ready as South Africans, as we have shown how we run Koeberg, that we are ready to build nuclear power plants and we are ready to operate them. So we are really hoping that will be considered as we wind down some of our coal-fired power stations. Nuclear becomes a viable option. In particular, also the other options that we are exploring is in the power stations that we are retiring, the coal-fired power stations that we are retiring, we are looking at options where we can then put the small modular reactors, so those from a value chain point of view, again, because it's about value chain, it's about the impact that you have from an economic point of view, that if you put such modular reactors, then the amount of people that you employ, the value chain that you create, within those surrounding communities, you do not leave them destitute, by closing off the power plants that we currently have. So, we are hopeful that government will look at that and will ensure that we carry on and build more nuclear power plants in South Africa.
Velaphi Ntuli is General Manager of the Koeberg Nuclear Power Station and walking us through the 930 megawatts that have been added to the grid. Obviously a delight to South Africans based on some of the challenges that we faced. Appreciate your time, Velaphi, and wish you a fantastic 2025.